Hey everyone, good morning. Happy Sunday. Instead of relaxing and playing some video games like I started to do, I decided instead I was going to do a quick review. Now, I did a little review for the Venom Pro. I thought this was an amazing blaster for the money. You can check out that review. Really like it. But at the same time, when I was down in the US and I picked up this, I also picked up the Adventure Force Maxim Pro. I actually picked up two, and I'm glad I did. Now, I didn't have a chance to get into this for a little bit until I had that backyard battle. A couple of the guys who came up were using Maxim Pros, and I opened one up. And I gotta tell you, I was way more impressed than I thought it would be. This is a good blaster and maybe one of the best intro flywheeler options we've ever had. Let's get into this thing and take a closer look. Here it is in all its glory, the Maxim Pro. Now, what this blaster comes with, it comes with a mag. It comes with some darts. It comes with some safety glasses. You also have this okay collapsible stock here, which is just fine. It's not the nicest stock that I've ever used, but it is kind of cool. This comes off and it will accept buffer tube, or it will also accept end strike. So really hard to complain about that. Stock point here, but you have lots of rail, pick rail, where you could put on another little stock point down here if you wanted. There is a stock point here as well. So you're well set to sling this blaster. I love the painted clear design of this. I think this looks really great. I'd love to put some LEDs in here. That's probably the only type of mod I would do for this because the performance is really great. I love that we can kind of see our flywheels and everything. This is all vented as well, which is, you know, probably keeping everything really cool. It does mean this is a riskier blaster to use out in the weather, in the rain. I like this neat little pass-through, hello, pass-through circle. That's kind of neat. This only comes with a 12 round mag. So if this is your first ever blaster, you're going to want to get some worker Talons. These are standard Talon compatible, or you can use some of the old Dart Zone mags you may have collected. But again, if this is your first one, just get yourself some worker Talons. Not angled, just regular. Design-wise, this shares a little bit, it seems, with the old Spectrum, which was a great semi-auto blaster as well. This is just a lot more minimized, a lot more compact, and, you know, as the Pro would tell you, has a lot better performance. So this blaster is kind of interesting as well. When you take off this big battery door, you see this 8 AA battery holder, and you're like, oh, why is it not in the blaster? Why is it in your hand? That's because when I open up this big battery door here, I'm being lazy not showing you, but you get it. You open up this big battery door, this is what you see. You can put 8 batteries in here, 2 of them are down below, and you'll get around 150 FPS performance, which is awesome. You take a little screw out and you unplug this and you see an XT30 connection, a connection we use a whole bunch in the hobby, and then you can use LiPo batteries, or like I've done here, the battery from your Venom, because the Venom came with a battery, lithium ion, and that will power this quite well. Or if you have an Omnia Pro, you can use that battery. It's a little bigger than the Venom battery, and that works great as well. 2S LiPo works. 3S LiPo works. If you're using 2S LiPo and 3S LiPo, you're generally getting around 150 FPS with a little bit up and down. It's a little bit more consistent on 3S, I found. And with the Venom battery, I believe we're getting about 130. Actually, I might go check that really quickly. Actually, wait, before I get into doing some FPS testing, I want to talk about the one thing that's a little bit controversial about this blaster. Certainly it was to me when I first thought about trying it. There is no rev trigger here. The rev trigger is on the handle of the blaster. So to rev this blaster, you're basically squeezing the grip in order to rev it. Now, I thought that that would be problematic, that I wouldn't like it. And I have to admit, I was not correct about that. I actually think it feels quite natural, and I don't mind it at all. I do like the positioning of this better than the positioning of the same style grip or rev trigger on the Venom Pro. I just find on the Venom Pro, I have to kind of weirdly choke up my grip in order to actually rev it. Whereas with this one, it feels a heck of a lot more natural to do it. And this has a great and snappy trigger pull. This blaster is only $40. This is an insane deal. You will have to get yourself more mags. One 12-round mag is not going to take you through a Nerf battle, but worker Talons are an investment generally in the future. It's a shame it doesn't take the same mags as the Venom Pro. The Venom Pro takes the slimmer Nightingale style mags. So you can't, if you picked up one of each, unfortunately you'd be carrying two styles of mags, which that does kind of drive me a little bit crazy. I thought on the battle I had a couple weeks ago, I would use the Venom as a sidearm and this as a main at one point, but I just didn't want to carry two types of mags. But anyway, that's a debate for another day. Let's see what kind of FPS we get with some different batteries. First, I'm going to try the Venom Pro in it and see how that does. 136, 139, 138, 140, 136. Where the Omnia battery or a 2S or a 3S are putting you kind of right at 150, that Venom Pro smaller battery is taking us in the high 130s, 140. So that's actually really good to know if you want to play somewhere and there's a hard 150 cap. It unfortunately means it's a little bit trickier for an HVZ where you're trying to get under 120. What I would do in that case is I would probably buy some dummy cells, some dummy batteries off Amazon, search that up. I'd use maybe 6 AA and a couple dummies, or 5 AAs and 3 dummies, and I'm sure you could get that FPS down to use this for an HVZ. I've done a lot of talking about this. I might actually open up this battery tray and put in a LIPO and just have a little look-see at that. Here's that battery compartment now. I've just thrown in a 3S LIPO. If you're using this for a battle of the day, remember to put a voltage alarm on this. I just charged it. I'm using it for 2 seconds. So bad habit or not, I don't have one on here. But this little 3S battery that I use in blasters like the Nightingale fits in here okay. I am a little bit nervous. I'm not going to run this very much on 3S. I think this is going to be, I think for me, this blaster, I'm going to use the Venom battery or Omnia battery. I have heard about a little bit of switch issue with switches burning out once in a while on these. I don't know how widespread that is. I don't really know the details. It's just something I've seen come up in comments. It's not a big deal for me because I can replace the switch, but for some of you at home, if it's your first blaster, it might be a bigger deal. So it might be a reason to not use a LIPO. That's more likely to burn out a switch than a Viper battery or an Omnia battery. So the big advantage of having 3S in here, I think, is really going to be your spin up time, because it seems like the FPS between 2S and 3S was actually pretty similar, probably because of the crush. But anyway, let's try this out over the chronograph here. 156, 152, 159. So I'm actually getting hotter numbers than I've heard about that. 2S, I'm guessing, is going to be more around 150. I'm not going to try this with AAs because, guys, at this point, I just don't run anything with 8 AAs. Well, I do have some rechargeable AAs I use, although they're in other blasters somewhere, and I don't want to dig them out. But from everything I've said, you're getting 150 performance with those 8 AAs. It's just kind of expensive. I do recommend, if you're going to get into using AA rechargeables, Powerowl has a 1.5 volt rechargeable AA. I'll put a link. I did a review on those. It would be worth checking those out if you want to stay away from LiPo batteries and you don't have any of those lithium ion batteries from a Viper or an Omnia. So I'm going to take this 3S LiPo back out of here, but it's cool to see how hot that can hit. I will probably generally run this on 2S or an Omnia battery. I'm curious about 2S. 140. Duplicate. This is a really small 2S LiPo, and I don't actually know that this one's fully charged. So a little bit lower than I expected to get with this one. Nice paddle release on that mag. Let's put a couple more in here. I'm going to use a different 2S LiPo. 138. 142. 143. A few different numbers there. Another thing I'm going to say about this blaster, I'm going to turn this camera so you can see. This blaster is super accurate. There is no scar or picar. That is a little bit of a muzzle that has lines that will make a dart spin. But the cage alignment on this is really good. This is very, very, very accurate, and people used it to great success on the little battle on the weekend. Let me turn this towards a target. Excuse all the mess. I'm going to go 20 feet away. I'm going to go for those 6s. Ran out of darts. 20 feet away, going for the 6. Just had to adjust my aim a little bit. As you can see, pretty accurate once you dial it in. So there you go, kind of a casual, quick review of the Maxim Pro, all in one take. What a wild time for this guy. I like these little sights up here. They work pretty well. You might want to play around with it a little bit. It is something that you will accidentally rev this once in a while. That's kind of the only bad thing about this kind of style here. I almost wish this blaster had an on-off switch. It's actually something, if I was going to use it a lot, I would probably add. So maybe in the future, I'll do a little bit of add some lights and on-off switch, but probably keep the performance right around where it's at. 8 AA's getting around 150. That's pretty darn good for something you're buying off a toy shelf. One thing I did kind of miss is that the Maxim Pro is really, really mod friendly. I'm going to put a link in the description and comments for Out of Darts for some of their kits. It's very easy to make this blaster full auto. It's very easy to add a solenoid, which is a mechanical pusher that makes a nice clacky sound whenever you fire a dart. This blaster is just a lot of fun off the shelf and for hobbyists too. So go check out those options at outofdarts.com. I might be the only one. I'm not the biggest fan of this purple. I know they were tying it in with the Nexus Pro over here. I get that. It's just not really my jam. For me, too little of it has that coloring. I do love these purple mags. Get yourself one of these. Get yourself a Nexus Pro or an Aeon Pro if they're on sale, because at least you're going to get more mags just like this. And those are also some great blasters. Adventure Force Pro line stuff has you covered. Really impressed. 40 bucks American. Amazing. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon, and I'm really loving being able to move around a little bit and being able to feel a lot more casual about these reviews, and hopefully it'll let me do a few more often. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.